Ahoy friends, welcome to Building the Alpha Dory. I'm Dan and this is a project to build a replica of an 1890s racing dory from Marblehead. Today we're going to be working on the garboard planking and possibly beveling the bow and stern frames to follow that garboard planking. Anyway, let's get out into the shop and get right to it. Alright, so here's where we're at with the garboard strakes. Last video we scarfed up this garboard strake, which is still gluing on the floor. It's been drying for almost 4 days now, so haven't really done much out in the shop since then. Here's the other garboard plank, which we put up on the bench, pulled up off the floor and put up on the bench. I believe the video before. So what I've got now is it's bent on the boat, and I've already gone ahead and taken and made a pencil line right along the edge of the bottom on the inside, and then I put a tick mark on the edge of the bottom on the outside, so I'll know. And that was at the most sloped spot, so that's going to be the spot that needs the most garboard to cover up that bottom board. So I put a tick there, so that's the widest point that I'll have, the widest difference between the inside line and the outside line. So then I can use the inside line to basically, rough cut an outside line at that greatest width, and it'll make cleaning up the garboard plank when we're done planking and we flip the boat over. It'll make cleaning it up a lot easier because there'll be a lot less garboard to remove. And also the garboard right here is just starting to interfere with the blocking that's under the boat. So it's the garboard is wider in the center section than need be. So it's kind of bumping into the blocking. You can see up here at the ends, bow and stern, that it's just perfect. We've just got a little tiny bit of extra garboard, which is what we want. So you can see it hanging down there. You can see how it gets more hangy down as it goes back. So yeah, we got just the right amount at the ends, and we've got a nice run up on the stem. It's going plenty high. So we made good use of our wood, and I've got it pulled up pretty close here at the bow. It's maybe a little bit short, so I'll bring it forward about an inch when I go to actually secure it. And I've got plenty of extra garboard back at the stern here to play with. So you can see the plank comes to the end of the transom here and then runs over by a good 6 inches or so. So I got plenty of wood to play with front to back, and I got plenty of wood center here. I've got probably 2 inches hanging down below the bottom. So the cuts we made worked out well. And like I said, I'm right on the bottom at the bow and stern. So I've got maximum height out of this plank, height along the stem and stern. So I guess next thing is to take this off, now that I've gotten the pencil line on it, to show me where to do the rough cut. I can take this off the boat and cut that with a circular saw, and we can start beveling the frames. You can see here that the back side of the frame is a little gap along the back side of the frame, whereas the plank is tight against the front side of the frame. And that's because we cut these frames on a 90 degree, on the bandsaw. And, when we cut out these frame arms, we didn't know which was going to be the front face and which was going to be the back. And if you tried to cut the bevel on the bandsaw and remember, and it'd just become a nightmare. And then you got to make sure you don't cut two bevels in the same direction, because then you pretty much ruined a frame, because you'll lose a lot of meat out of it. So it's just a lot easier. And in a Dory shop, they all would have been cut square anyway, and then you just would have put them together and beveled them on the boat, which is exactly what we're doing. So, and in a Dory shop, you'd have a guy or two cutting frames, and then a couple of guys building a couple different boats out of them. So it's not like you're... just gets complicated if you start trying to pre-bevel things. And this way, with it on the boat, we can actually line the plane up to where the real bevel is going to be with the wood, and get it good. Alright, so I'll take this garboard off. Now I want to check the stern again too, because when I was putting in these kicksticks back here, I thought it might have ooched a little bit, but I'm not sure. Alright, it probably just creaked it's probably just the strong back creaking. This is the first boat I built on it since I got the strong back into the shop. So these things that I'm pulling out here are kick sticks. It's just a piece of oak with a nail sticking out the bottom so that it'll dig into the floor. And what you're able to do is you put your foot against the end with the nail, and then you can use this to wedge a board in place, basically clamping the board to the bottom. It's nearly impossible to get a clamp on this bottom edge. I suppose if you had really huge, fairly expensive clamps, you could do it, but you can actually just do the same job with a scrap of oak and an old nail. So yeah, some big huge industrial clamp would just be ridiculous when you can do the same thing for pennies on the dollar. These are nice clamps. These Jorgensen style wood clamps. And of course these are really ancient technology, these clamps. You can I've actually got one or two that I'm not using, but you can find these clamps in wood, with a wood with wood cranks, threaded wood handles. Those go back who knows how long. Probably back to Roman times if I had to guess, but they work great. Alright, so Yeah, alright, so I'm seeing the line that I drew here, and it looks good. Line is looking good. And I'll be able to, like I say, use that to trim off the excess wood. The scarf joints that we glued up held. No issues there. They looked good on the boat. No kinks, no bends. You know, nice smooth joints. So that's a good thing. Yeah, just a whole lot to be thankful for today. Alright. So let's find a plane and get to work on these frames. Alright, so I've got a pencil here. I know I want to take off close to 1/4 inch. So what I'll do is I'll scribe a sort of best guess as to where I want to end up along here. And this line will be a nice reference mark so that I can keep this straight edge. So, you know, like I won't take off more here unless there or whatever. I'll have a sort of reference mark that's the same width all along. So if I start taking off more wood in one spot than another, I'll notice it pretty quick. And the plane should do a lot to prevent that anyway. It's got a flat sole on it, so it'll keep you from putting too big of a hollow or a high spot in the wood. Need to take more of this off as we go up on the planks, but this is sort of a minimum that we're going to need to take off, and this is the angle we'll need for the garboard at the very least. The angle will become steeper as we work our way up the boat. Sharp plane for going across the grain on the soak. Got the bit blade just barely poking out. Taking a bit off the bottom here too. Bring it in line with the frame there. So you can see I just brought the plane along the frame past the bottom at the same angle as the frame. Fairing in the slight adjustments that I made to the bottom bevel there. Alright, that's looking pretty good. So let's go back to the stern one. So we're gonna do something similar along this side here. Grab the pencil. We're not going to need to take off as much wood on this side of the on the stern frame because the bevel, the angle of that the planks are coming in at isn't as steep. So it's going to be about half the amount of wood that we took off up front. Just keeping the plane in line with the angle of the bottom there. Looking pretty good. Yeah. Alright, yeah, so you can see that was pretty simple. And then back here at the transom, we're going to need to remove a little bit more, plane off a little bit more wood back here as well. You could see when I had the plank up that the angle wasn't quite, the plank was coming in a little bit steeper than the angle that the transom's cut at. So doing is steepening that angle a little bit. Sighting along it the whole time to make sure that we're final fit the plank. We'll check this one more time just to make sure that the plank's laying in. It looked pretty good when we had it on there. Just make sure it's laying in alongside the stern knee and smooth to the bottom there. Pretty close to where we want to be. Just laying the edge of the plane along that line to make sure that I'm keeping this straight. Yeah. Alright, so yeah, it looks pretty good. Okay, so we'll see how that sets on there, and then we can always tweak it a bit more if we have to. But it's looking pretty close, so we don't want to go crazy on it. Sometimes it's just best to let well enough alone. All right, so yeah. Getting there, getting closer. Like I said, I'll probably get the skill saw out and make that cut along the bottom edge. You can see here. Let's see. Yeah, you can see here. Here's the inside line that we drew. And then I mentioned that I made a tick mark, which is this line on the outside. So this is the widest part of the bottom bevel. So if I cut this far off of this line, then I know I'll have enough wood all along, so I can just follow the inside line I drew rather than trying to get up underneath the bottom of the boat to draw the outside line. And when I flip it over and we're getting ready to glass the bottom, we'll get out the well, depending on how much wood we got to remove, it'll either get out the belt sander or the hand plane or whatever. The draw knife works great on pine planks. Not so great on plywood. One of the best things is just the belt sander with a big, heavy, coarse grit belt. Yeah, so I guess that's probably about it for this morning. Gotta head into the real job, pay the bills, and yeah, see you next time. Thanks for stopping by building the Alpha, Dory. Yeah, have a good day and God bless.